Welcome, listeners. Tonight, I'll be your guide through the shadowy twists and turns of modern dating. I've always been a skeptic of dating apps. There's something about swiping through strangers that feels so impersonal, so detached. But like many of you, the creeping tendrils of loneliness eventually nudged me to give it a try. Whether it's for a laugh, a chance at love, or just to feel a momentary connection, I ventured into the digital dating abyss. But, as you'll soon discover through these tales, not all is as it seems in the world of right swipes and "it's a match" notifications. These apps, while promising companionship, might just be doing more harm than good. So, dim the lights, cozy up, and brace yourselves as I share 3 true and unsettling stories from the dark side of Tinder. Whether these accounts send a shiver down your spine or merely make you think twice about that mysterious match, remember, in the digital world, not everyone is looking for love. Story 1: The Tinder Distraction. I've always prided myself on being resilient, the kind of woman who bounces back no matter what life throws at her. After ending a hollow marriage with a man who was more ghost than husband, traveling ceaselessly for his high-profile business ventures, I found solace in the arms of friends and occasionally strangers. My family, ever the protective clan, knew little of my ventures into the dating world. They disapprove, without a doubt, their judgments as sharp as thorns. My best friend, Jenna, had been my rock through the darkest times. She understood my need to feel wanted, to forget. So when she suggested Tinder as a distraction, a way to meet new people without the heaviness of immediate commitment, I took to it with a mix of excitement and trepidation. That's how I met Ethan. He was charming, with a smile that seemed to understand something fundamental about me. We clicked instantly. Our first dates were quaint cafe meetups, where coffee and laughter flowed freely under the open sky. By the time he invited me over for wine, I felt a comfort with him that I hadn't felt in a long time. I remember Jenna jokingly cautioning me as I got ready. "Don't fall too hard, okay? We're just in it for the fun." Ethan's place was a neat little apartment with walls adorned with abstract art. He poured us each a glass of wine, and we settled into an evening of easy conversation and shared jokes. But as the night deepened, a sinister haze began to cloud my mind. My limbs felt heavy, my thoughts tangled like seaweed. Alarm bells went off in my head. I had been here before. The memory of a similar night years ago, when I had been drugged at a party, was etched sharply in my mind. Using every ounce of my fading strength, I feigned cheerfulness and told Ethan I needed to use the bathroom. Once inside, my heart pounding against the porcelain sink, I locked the door and dialed 911. I whispered urgently into the phone, explaining my situation before my world went dark. When I awoke, it was to the sound of hushed voices and the sensation of being carried. My head was shrouded, not by my own confusion, but by an actual bag. Later, I would learn from the police that they had covered my head to spare me from seeing the horrors Ethan had planned, laid out in his living room like some grotesque exhibition. At the station, after giving my statement, I asked about the bag. The officer's words chilled me to the bone. They had wanted to protect me from the trauma of the scene. Ethan was arrested, his intentions dark and unfathomable. This experience, more than any other, has left me shaken but wiser. I share this story not to spread fear, but to urge caution. The world of online dating can be a wonderful place to connect, but it is also a realm where shadows lurk. Always let someone know where you are, who you're with, and ensure someone is keeping tabs. Safety is a mantle we must wear vigilantly, especially when stepping into the unknown. Story 2: The Government Agent. The burnout was creeping up on me like the Florida heat, relentless and unyielding. After moving from the cozy familiarity of Indiana to the unpredictable sprawl of Florida, I found myself overwhelmed. Juggling speech pathology for a raucous crowd of middle schoolers alongside my elementary kids was proving to be more than I could handle. I was about to drop the middle school gig. My sanity demanded it. My parents didn't make things easier, their guilt-laden voices echoing over the phone, mourning my departure yet again. They couldn't understand that this was for me, for my own growth. My friend Liz, seeing the strain I was under, suggested Tinder. "It's casual," she assured me. "Just what you need to distract yourself." So I plunged into the world of online dating, a realm as murky and unpredictable as the Florida swamps. That's how I met John. His Tinder profile showed a charming guy with a mysterious job in government. We hit it off chatting, and after a week we decided to meet. I told him to pick me up at the local mall. I was young, a tad naive, and giddy about the date. When John arrived, my first impression was jarred by reality. His face bore scars, likely from severe acne or burns, a detail his profile pictures had cleverly omitted. But I brushed aside my initial shallow judgment. I was looking for something real, something deeper than skin. He suggested we drive by his new office before dinner, painting it as a quick detour. I was intrigued by his government job, picturing something exciting, perhaps covert. As we drove, my excitement built, but confusion set in when he headed toward the RFK bridge, away from the bustling heart of the city where I imagined his office would be. When I questioned him, he dropped the act. "Oh yes, I do work for the government, the sanitation department," he clarified, his voice casual, as if the revelation shouldn't change a thing. There's dignity in all work, but the deception stung. I had envisioned a sharp-suited man against a backdrop of Midtown's chaos. Not this. Before I could process the full extent of my disillusionment, John parked next to a garbage dump in Harlem. "Let's check out where I'll enter my building," he said, as if it were the most normal first date detour in the world. I found myself, dressed inappropriately in a miniskirt and pumps, standing amid the stench of garbage, texting my friends his details, just in case. This, I told them, could be how I end up on the evening news. John seemed oblivious to my discomfort as he chatted about parking logistics while we circled the garbage-infused premises. Finally, he declared it was time to eat. My heart sank further when he drove us to a seedy diner where flies competed for space around grimy lights. Dinner was a nightmare. John chomped on ice chips from his glass with open-mouthed enthusiasm, oblivious to my growing horror. The ride back to the mall was a silent movie of awkward glances and unspoken apologies. He asked for a hug when we parted, perhaps his way of salvaging the night. I offered a weak pat on the back and a hollow promise to call, then fled from his car, blocking his number the moment I was free. I learned my lesson that night. In the swamp of online dating, it's not just the heart you must guard, but the very essence of your comfort and safety. Never again, I vowed, would I let loneliness override my instinct. Story 3. The Bartender. Last night, as the melancholy strains of jazz mingled with the clinking of glasses in a dimly lit bar, something rare happened. The bartender, with a wink and a smile that seemed to light up the room, made me feel genuinely special. It was a fleeting connection, but it reminded me of what I had been missing. Emboldened by the night's flirtations and the warmth of the cocktails, I returned home alone, flopped onto my couch, and continued my digital quest for companionship on Tinder. That's when I stumbled upon Andrew's profile. It was intriguing, hidden behind a veil of mystery. No photos, just a promise of green eyes, a fit body, and a vague job in government. His message, "Serious people only," hinted at depth. I swiped right, driven by curiosity and a touch of reckless hope. Andrew messaged me promptly that Saturday evening. His opening line was peculiar. He claimed he'd seen my profile fluctuating in age over the years, though I'd always been honest about being 33. As our conversation unfolded, it became apparent that Andrew was not just mysterious, he was a riddle wrapped in contradictions. He admitted to having met me, or someone pretending to be me, years ago, though I had no memory of such an encounter. His insistence on my age discrepancies was unsettling, yet his subsequent invitation to his place under the guise of proximity was all too predictable. When I declined, hinting at the inappropriateness, he revealed his true colors. Andrew boasted about a recent late-night encounter, a story tinged with sadness about a girl scarred physically and emotionally. He spoke of her with a detachment that chilled me to the bone. It was then that the conversation spiraled into darker territories. He confessed to having slept with hundreds of women, his tone both boastful and strangely hollow. His moral compass, it seemed, was guided solely by opportunity and desire. He spoke of cheating as if it were a sport, where the rules were made to be broken, and intimacy was just another game to win. The revelation wasn't just off-putting. It was a glaring red flag waving violently in the night breeze. As our conversation drew to a close, with Andrew retreating behind his veil of secrecy and unmatched profiles, I was left staring at the blinking cursor, a poignant reminder of the emptiness of our exchange. I sat there, the echoes of the bartender's charm still warm in my memory, juxtaposed against the cold digital dismissal from a man who saw people as conquests. It was a stark reminder of the dual faces of dating, the real and the virtual, and how easily one could get lost between the two. I turned off my phone, the screen's glow fading into the darkness of my living room. The night's adventure, which had begun with a spark of hope, ended with a renewed resolve to find something genuine, something beyond the superficial connections that left souls hollow. The search for love, I realized, was not just about finding someone. It was about seeing through the facades to the truth beneath. And perhaps for now, that search was better pursued in the real world, where smiles were not pixels, but palpable signs of something deeper.